Are you trying to figure out if your buying agent is really effective for your needs? Stay tuned and we'll talk you with some tips about validating your buyer's agent. So, last time we talked about some of the things that listing agents do to get the listing, and they may not necessarily be the best thing for the seller. This video is going to help you understand what you need to look for in a buyer's agent and some of the things that a buyer's agent does or maybe should do that will help you distinguish if that person is really the right person to represent you and help you find that house. Our last video, we highlighted those things to watch out for, and now we're going to give you as a buyer, your version of that, what to look for a buying agent. Being a buyer right now is stressful. Inventory is limited and often not very appealing, that what you do see. Prices are higher than ever. The cost of money is higher than it's been in the past 10 years. Inflation is making saving and operating a house more challenging. So given all these factors, you need to have an agent who can trust and can keep a level head amongst all of this pressure, especially the pressure you're feeling. You don't want them to get as emotional and stressed as you feel. You want them to have the level head to help guide you through this. Being a buyer's agent in this market is proven very challenging, as we write a lot of offers and not all of them are getting accepted. Schedules are disrupted at a moment's notice because the perfect house comes on and we haven't seen any, and all of a sudden the right one comes on and we have to get out there and show it as quickly as possible and probably get an offer in as quickly as possible because it's not going to be on the market very long. So you've got a lot of disruption there. And let's face it, agents rely primarily on closed business for their income. And if you're on the buy side, you've had some challenging years in which you may have had buyers, but you may not have been getting closed transactions. And so you're probably suffering, if you're a buyer's agent, you're suffering a fairly significant decline in income. In that type of environment, it's often tempting to put ethics, integrity, and honesty on the back burner when it comes to having income or not. But as a fiduciary, the client's needs must always come first. That being said, here are some things that you as a consumer should be aware of when working with your buyer's agent to make sure that your interests are the ones that come first. So first and foremost, you need to remember that your agent is a fiduciary, at least in many of the states. Some states may be different. They may not have that agency relationship, but anybody who has an agency relationship, that agent should be a fiduciary, meaning that your interests of the client must take priority over everyone else's interests, including that of the agents. For example, if you're unsure about purchasing a certain property because it may be outside of your budget and you're feeling a little nervous about whether or not you can afford it, and your agent is aware of what your budget constraints are and what your tolerance level is for a certain price point, but even though they know that, they start insisting that you submit an offer because they need the money. They need a transaction. And if no offer is written, they don't have a chance. You need to make sure that your agent's not doing this because they're putting their interest ahead of your interest. If you're not feeling comfortable about putting an offer in, the agent should be saying, you know what? If you're not comfortable, then I'm not comfortable putting an offer in for you either. We want to make sure you are certain about this home, certain about the price point, certain about the budget requirements and the money requirements before you put an offer in. If they don't say that to you, you need to maybe take a little pause and really understand what their motives are. Another thing to look for, if the agent doesn't take the time to sit down and explain the buying process, what agency is, and the importance of getting your finances in order and getting a pre-approval in place. Most people don't buy houses on a regular basis. Even if this is not your first house, it's probably been maybe 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 or more years since you purchased a home. And I will tell you, the way homes are purchased today are different than it was 5 years ago, different than it was 10 years ago and 20 years ago. So you want somebody to explain to you what the process is today. What are the important things you need to have in place today? Right now, having your finances in proper order, knowing how much money you have, knowing what your budget is, knowing what you're pre-approved for, and knowing how we can maneuver and work the monies to your best advantage to compete with a bunch of other people who are doing the same thing, and maybe some people who have cash and everything else, on how to get you positioned. That is very, very critical in the buying process. Your agent needs to take the time to work with you on that and to understand that. Not just to shove you off to another lender. They need to understand what it is you're discussing with the lender. Not the private parts, but at least what are your budget constraints? What kind of price point are we looking at? Where are your concerns? The agent has to be well in tuned with that so that we're on board with making sure we're showing you the right properties that you feel comfortable making an offer on. If they're not willing to explain all of that to you, you may need a different agent. Maybe the agent is not familiar with the area that you are looking to buy, but they don't acknowledge it. We're not familiar with all the different areas that people are looking, even if within our geography. We live in the outskirts of Philadelphia, and we have large counties. We have familiarity with a lot of the areas, but not everyone. And sometimes buyers will be looking at one area in which we're working with them, and then something comes up that's a little bit out of the blue that they found. And you may not have 100% knowledge of it. And that may be okay. You need to at least let the buyer know, saying, I'm not totally familiar with this area. I'm going to do some research. I know some agents that do. I will learn what I need to learn. And if it's something that's totally outside of their scope or geography, they need to consider referring off to another agent, at least for that part of a transaction in that geography they're not familiar with. I think it's okay to tell a buyer you don't have direct familiarity with that specific area, but you can help them with all the other areas. It's if you don't have the knowledge and don't say anything to the buyer, then I think you're doing them a disservice. So you want a buyer's agent who is honest with you about what they can and cannot do, what they know and do not know. Maybe the agent is not doing the research about the comparable sales in your target area to help you determine an offer position. Maybe you look at a house and you want to know, how is this price compared to comparables? How is this price compared to what's already on the market? How is this price compared to its condition? And, has the agent gone and looked at the seller's disclosure? Has the agent looked at the prior history of the property? How long has it been on the market? Who's owned it before? How long have they owned it before? How much do they have as far as a mortgage? If your MLS provides that information to you, our MLS lets you understand and see at least what loans or liens have been taken out against the property. Is the agent doing that so that you have a good understanding of what that home should be valued at, what your offer price should be, and providing to you a knowledgeable recommendation, not just, oh, I think you should go 20% over ask because I know you'll get it if you do that. You have to watch if your agent is quick to have you give up your rights, your protections, and your contingencies without advising you of the potential risks and downfalls of doing so. Let's face it, agreements of sale are written to make sure that both parties' interests are protected to a certain level. We know that there's give and take both between sellers and buyers, but there are provisions that are put in place in these documents to make sure that if you can't get a mortgage, if you do inspections and decide that the repairs are in excess of what you're willing to accept or tolerate, you have a way to get out. What's your protection for your deposit money? All those, and they're state specifics, but all those things need to be understood by the buyer. And if you have an agent that is very quick to have you give all those rights up because they tell you that's the only way to get a house, they need to, at the very least, explain to you what the downside risk is. If we do this, you could lose your deposit if you change your mind. If you do this, you could be buying a house with no inspections, and once you take possession, if it's got a big giant crack in the foundation and it looks like it's going to fall apart, that's on you. Sorry. You'll have no recourse to the seller. They need to explain those to you so you as the consumer, you as the one who's actually making the purchase, you're the one that's risking the money, can make a knowledgeable, educated decision, taking those risk components into account. So if you have an agent that automatically just says, well, I know how we're going to get it, you just waive everything and we'll do 10% over ask and then you'll pay the transfer tax. They're awful quick to give up anything that really could be either considered a negotiated thing that they may have to deal with in the future, or they really don't care about the risks you're taking, and they're not concerned about anything other than trying to get a transaction under contract. Maybe the agent is not considering the resale of the home when helping you understand the aspects of the home. One of the first things that we look at when we look at a house is we think to ourselves, how can I sell this house again? Because hopefully at some point in time, it may be many years down the road, our buyers will consider using us to help them sell the house. Since we know about the house and we help them put in the house and we've maintained a relationship over their hopefully life of living in the house and improving the house. But we also want to make sure that there are not aspects of the home that are going to present a challenge to being able to sell that house, because we don't know when that sale may need to take place. Life happens. Okay? We don't know if you're going to get a great job opportunity in another part of the country. We don't know if there's going to be a divorce or a death in the family or something else unforeseen in which you need to sell the home in a time frame maybe not of your choosing, and maybe faster than what you would expect how long you're going to live in the home. And it may not be in the same type of market of which you purchased it. So right now it's a great seller's market. So you would always love to be able to sell a home in a seller's market, but maybe in 15 years, it's not a seller's market. Maybe it's a buyer's market. Well, we want to make sure you're in a home that regardless of the market, it's in a place that buyers are going to want to move to. That we aren't going to have a problem attracting people to the home because we neglected to tell you about the railroad tracks in the back, and that was going to be an impediment for any future sales down the road. We didn't tell you that high tension lines near a home sometimes make buyers hesitant to make a purchase there. Okay, we need to be able to tell you the challenges that we would see in trying to sell a home again. You know, it's on a busy street. You see this perfect home, it's everything you like, and it's at a great price, you think it's a deal, you're wondering why nobody's bought it, and it's on a really, really busy street. And you say, well, it's really not that busy, we'll have the kids play in the back. Well, at some point in time, when you want to sell it, that busy street's going to be a factor. We need you to understand that that may be an impediment to a future sale. So we want you to have agents who are always thinking resale when they're helping you make that purchase. Another thing to look at is the agent unwilling to talk you out of a property? There are times in which we look at our clients and they're looking at a home and we say to them, you know what, this is not the home that you have told us you want. You have told us the characteristics, what you're trying to accomplish, what some of your goals are for your family, what your price point is. There are some things maybe we've noticed about the property that give us some concern. You need to have an agent that's willing to say, you know, based on everything you've told me about what you're looking for in a property, this is not it. Okay, and so I don't know why you're thinking about making an offer because it's contrary to everything you've told us. And at least challenge them on that. If they still want to go and make an offer, we'll write the offer. But at least you need someone that's going to hold you to account if you let your emotions get ahead of what you really are looking for in the grand scheme of why you're buying a property. Something else to watch out for, if the agent delegates showings to another agent. They may be in a big team and they have what they call showing agents. And so you'll say, hey, I want to see this property. And they'll say, well, I'll connect you with my showing agent, whoever it may be. And they meet you there. And you may have never seen this person before or met with this person before. They've never had any interactions with you. And what's even worse is sometimes you go to different properties or on different days and there's a different showing agent. Here's the importance of why you want the buying agent with you, because you want the buying agent to see your body language. You reveal a lot of things when you look in a home. We can see your facial expressions, your body expressions, what you gravitate to, what you don't gravitate to, what parts of the home you like, what parts of the home you don't like. That helps us understand if we are in a home that has potential for you to make an offer or not. If the buying agent is not there, how do they know that? So the only time you interact with the buying agent is when maybe they write up an offer or maybe they're dealing with negotiations, but they didn't see you when you were looking at the houses. They weren't there getting an understanding of the home and seeing the home themselves with you and understanding there may be some aspects of that home that should be of concern based upon the time they spent with you to know who you are and what you're looking for. So it may be easier for the buying agent, for these big teams, to delegate these activities off because sometimes they are a pain in the ass. Drop everything and go to a showing. But the value that we get in being able to see you, look at the home, understand the home, the dialogue we have in saying, this may work here, this may not work here. If you told us that you want to have more children, well, you know what? 2 bedrooms isn't going to cut it. Okay, you need more bedrooms. Things like that are important. So be watchful of that if that is happening to you. And last and final is, if the agent has a tendency to show you listings from their office or from their team. So you want to see all sorts of different properties, but it seems like the only properties that they're showing you are ones that are from their brokerage or from their office or from their team, then they're not showing you everything that's on the market. And what that really is attempting to do is try to keep all of that commission revenue within that office or within that team, as opposed to letting you see all the properties that are available. I'd say that's probably less likely to happen, but if you notice that clearly, that is a red flag. So putting this all together should give you an idea of how you should be interacting with your buyer's agent. Your buyer's agent should be asking you for a buyer's agency agreement. They're going to look for some commitment from you, just like you're going to look for some commitment from them. They're going to tell you how they're going to get paid. More likely than not, they're going to get paid from the listing broker through a cooperative agreement. They may have items within their buyer's agency agreement that discusses how they get paid if you're dealing with a seller who's not paying commission. So you want to have some understanding of what maybe your financial obligations could be. If anybody says that they're doing it for free, that's not accurate. If you read the buyer's agency agreement, you'll see that that's not accurate, that you are actually paying them, but they are getting paid as a result of the cooperating listing broker. If you have any other questions, drop us a comment down in there. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. We hope that this helps you become a better consumer, a more informed consumer, and enjoy the buying process. It is enjoyable. It's sometimes frustrating, but once you get that home that you've been working so hard for and saving that money for, and really you're trying to put this new time of your life together, and it's centered around this new place, it's a very exciting time. So you sometimes have to go through some pain before you have some joy, and we hope that your buying experience is a joyful one. Have a great day.